You're listening to Teacakes on the Sis podcast, sharing little bites of life. Assalamu alaikum, y'all. This is Sister Hoff, and today I want to have just a little bit to talk about starting over. Now, I don't mean starting over yourself. While, we experience it. Pretty much all my friends know that I'm currently on for 5th time starting over. Too many lives. And it's hard, it's a grief, but I'm talking about when you have a friend who's starting over. And what their experiences are is going to be different than maybe what your experiences are. Even if you've started over, their hardships and their struggles and their grief is different than somebody else. You can't compare. And that honestly is probably one of the hardest things to tell us to try to not do to our friends who are going through a hardship and a grief of having to start over and their life being different. Don't compare them to other people because it's different. I'm not going to sit here and compare someone's hardship. Maybe it's something you might consider small, like not getting into a certain school or getting a certain grade or the job that you want. And if you sit there and say, well, at least you're not stuck on the other side of the world where all these wars are going on and people are being completely bombed to the ground and starving to death. Yeah, that's awful that those people are going through, but you can't make that comparison. That's only going to make your friend feel worse, first of all, because they are still feeling the grief and the loss of a life that they had before, of an experience of, maybe it was a relationship or a job, if they lost their job or whatever it is. And for them, in comparison to their life, they're experiencing, that is a hardship and that is dramatic. I heard a quote that once said, don't compare what's on your plate to somebody else's plate, because maybe you have a porcelain plate and they have a paper plate. It's what they have and what they're given. My mom pointed this out to me before many years ago. She was like, don't dismiss someone else's hardship because that's her hardship. Because I was doing it. I was like, well, what is this, woman complaining about? She's not dealing with what I'm dealing with. My mom said, you can't do that. That's wrong, because in her life and her experiences and how she's lived and what she's experienced, gone through and grew up with, that is a hardship. That is pain. You can't compare it to your own. And that is so true. And I definitely learned in that, and I still had to learn and still grow and realize that people don't want you to sit there and cheer them up. Think about if you've seen that movie Inside Out. Pixar did a really good job with that one, where sadness had a role. You can't sit there and continually try to be joy, 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 happy, happy, happy. Let's distract you and think about the fun things. Of course, we know in American society, sometimes those distraction and fun things are actually quite destructive to you physically, mentally, emotional. It's not really, you don't need a distraction. You need a certain kind of comfort. Now, I'm not saying encourage bad behaviors. Yeah, do this thing or screw this person or whatever it is. That's not the kind of things that people need. Hearing stuff like, I'm sorry that you're going through that. This must be so hard. Okay, and then leave it at that. Don't continually bring it up. Don't continually remind the person of the hot mess that they're probably going through. It's one thing to say, how are you feeling, after it's been a minute? But if every single time you're talking to that person, you just want to go, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? And you're egging them on, like desperate to know how they're feeling. Well, they probably feel like doo-doo. They don't need to be reminded of that. Example, I'm going through some stuff and I have a friend who is still just sharing the fun memes, and we send a lot of cat photos and videos to each other, and she keeps doing that, and alhamdulillah, she is, mashallah, amazing for doing that, because that's what I need. I need to know that my friend is still there. I need to know, whoever's going through it, they need to know that their relationship with you, with their friend, coworker, whatever, they need to know that hasn't changed, that they still have somebody who's on their team. I don't need somebody to be there to fight my battles, because you can't. I don't need somebody to try to fill a void. You didn't create the void. And I'm not even going to call it much of a void. It's something that they have to go through, and they're going to grow, and they know that. They, again, don't need reminders of, it's okay, God's going to take care of you, and this is just, a test, it's going to make you stronger, as if they don't already know that. Again, that's continually reminding them of the grief they're going through. of the hardship and pain, they need something that's consistent in their life. And one of those consistencies is absolutely and definitely your friendship. If you usually go out for coffee, do it like normal. And don't sit there and try to point out the elephant in the room. Be like, okay, everybody. Instead of having normal conversation, you just spend the whole time trying to, let's point out the elephant in the room. Everybody be here, crowd around this person who's going through a hardship. That's not what people need. You know, when my grandfather, may he rest in peace, when he passed away, my grandmother needed people around her, loving her. She didn't need people to say, it's gonna get better, this is gonna make you stronger. That's not what she needed. Or, oh, I understand how you feel. Or somebody trying to distract her. Again, this is America. There's some really unhealthy distractions out there, especially physically, what people do and what they consume. That's not what they need. Just having somebody there. And in the case of like my grandmother, hey, can I cook for you? Not even being like, do you need someone to cook for you? Just be like, hey, can I cook for you? Can I bring you something to eat? Is that all right if I come over and, help you clean your house or whatever? She needs company. She just spent, 60, I don't know. I'm not going to say how old she was because a Southern lady never shares her age. But she got married when she was 19. She has never spent a night alone at all because she got married, she had kids. She's never been alone. And now she is, and that's so hard. And so, she needs people to be around her to comfort her. And that's a bit of change, but that's something that we can do for each other. Now, when you have a friend who's going through not a death, but what they call an ambiguous loss, some big dramatic change, they lost a job, a relationship ended or whatever, they don't need the extra comfort because they're not missing like a physical presence of somebody, but they need that consistency that there's something in their life hasn't changed, because they don't need complete upheaval of their whole life about everything's changed. Not only do I have to go through this experience, but now my friends are acting weird, they're acting different or whatever. So I guess what I'm really trying to say is be consistent and just be the friend that you have been for this person. Don't make them feel isolated, because when all you do is talk about their pain, you are isolating them, sticking them in their pain and reminding them that, well, you're going through something. And even if you try to relate, they know you are not experiencing what I'm experiencing right now. So don't remind them of that. Just spending that time, being consistent, being the usual friend. If you send memes, send the memes. If you go out for coffee, go out for coffee. Just those normal little things. I hope you've gained something from this little bite of life and have got some new knowledge you can put in your bank of things and be able to be there for people and be your best and healthiest version of yourself.